It was 2010 and raining, a little chilly, and there was remnants of winter on the ground. I walked into a deep puddle. The water filled my runners. My feet were chilled and I froze. My world stopped. I could smell the rain and the damp dead leaves on the ground. In the background, birds were chirping. Cars were driving through puddles. I watched the rain run down a branch and the sprouts of new leaves started to appear. For the first time in a long time, I felt alive, but more than just alive. I felt blood running through my veins and the air coming in and out of my lungs and exhaling out. For the first time in a long time, I don't just exist, I was part of the world around me. I wish I could tell you that my life got better right after that, or that there was some magical ending to my story, but it was my first year of being HIV positive. I had a lot of soul searching to do. I'm Christine, and this is my story. I guess you could say I came from an average middle-class family, two brothers, three sisters. My dad worked and my mom stayed at home. My teen years were much like other kids I know, experimenting, going to school, and dreaming of my future. My adult years, I worked a lot, struggled a bit with money-wise, drank a little too much once in a while. I was trying to fit in and often felt lonely. In the fall of 2009, at the age of 29, I got quite sick. I thought I had a bad flu. After that, I would get sick often, and I lost a lot of weight and felt tired all the time. I thought I was dying. After a full medical exam in March, I got a call from the doctor to come in for an appointment and thought nothing of it. In March 28, 2010, I went to see my doctor, and he said, I have to tell you that you tested HIV positive. The air left my body, and I wanted to crawl in on myself. I don't think I heard a thing he said after that. I went to work. When I got home, I crawled into bed, and I stayed there for 3 days. The first time I ever felt stigma, it was my own. How could this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? How could I let this happen? No one will ever love me, and I'll never have sex again. After that, most of the next few months are kind of a blur. I drank a lot and lived like it was my last day on earth. That summer, I told my parents and one of my sisters I was HIV positive. I went in with my back prepared to cut ties, and then my mom hugged me and she said she loved me. And when she did that, I felt like I could have just melted in her arms. My parents were so supportive, but my sister was not. She phoned the rest of my siblings and she was afraid I would somehow infect one of them. She said to me that she called my niece because I held her baby at her baby shower. I would somehow give her baby HIV. I was crushed. I'll never forget how my stomach dropped and how devastating that was. I started antiretroviral and went undetectable in no time. After the summer, I decided to get certified as a healthcare aide, as I had already been doing so for years. I met a man and soon found out I was pregnant. My pregnancy went well. I needed to be inducted. It took a few days. Every new shift, there was always a nurse who came to question me on how I got HIV. I was in the hospital trying to have my first baby. I'd been happily dreaming about meeting this baby face to face. I was in pain. I felt my baby monitor was beeping every 2 minutes. Every hour, some nurse was in there with their hand in my badge, checking my cervix. On top of that, staff asking me over and over again about me being HIV positive. My son had to go into the nursery because of his blood sugar dropping. The staff would not let me hold him for the first 24 hours, again, making assumptions, questioning me accusingly about drug use. It wasn't until a doctor saw me crying that he asked why on earth I was not allowed to hold the baby. When I left the hospital, I filed a complaint. That's when I decided to educate people and start speaking out about HIV stigma. I now am the mom of 3 kids, 8, 7, and 5. All my children are HIV negative. And I had them after being diagnosed HIV positive. 11 years since my diagnosis, my viral load is undetectable. I take 1 pill a day. People love me and I love me. When I first found out I was HIV positive, I could not have conceived that I would have had a family or that I'd be living a pretty decent life. Talking about being HIV positive has helped me accept that I am HIV positive. When it was a secret, the darkness was consuming me. I was afraid, lonely, and I could not see life after being HIV positive. Now I live and live in the light. I see a future and I'm not consumed with the idea that I'm unlovable because of the virus. I still deal with stigma. I have to roll with the punches when it happens. Sometimes it doesn't bother me. Other times it hits me like a belly flop. I tell someone I'm HIV positive, and sometimes I can see it in their eyes like a deer in headlights. They are scared. They aren't seeing me anymore. When people respond out of fear, they are pushing me out of the world. And that's when they blurt out questions like, how did you get it? A better response is not one out of fear. It's important to educate people so that their first reaction is not fear. I've realized I can't control what people think of me, but I can control what I think of me. And I think I'm an all right person these days. Inhaling, exhaling, feeling life all around me. I am part of the world around me.